objectives you see on the left for the 2019-2020 school year and the progress that we're making towards those. Again, what expected results we anticipate seeing, and if we have results to date, we list those. And so we will continue to monitor progress on all of our action planning and strategic plan goals this year. We will finish up and anticipate doing so in the last 2 months of the year, but we're very proud of what has been accomplished to date and the fact that these strategic goals continue to be addressed despite implementing item 2.02, which is a continuity of learning plan. So I'll pause to see if there are any questions on 2.01. Okay, for 2.02, Pennsylvania Department of Education has requested that districts submit a plan. There is no template for that plan. This template is being used in Allegheny County, and it roughly identifies major elements. It's our understanding we will not receive any feedback on the plan submitted to PDE. It is merely a requirement that we do so, and then that we post a copy of this on our website. So we posted a copy of this last week. I wanted the board to be able to and have it on the public record tonight. Following tonight's meeting, I will email a copy of this to the state so that they have it. And as Mr. Lyons mentioned at the opening of the meeting, Focus on Learning for Every Student Every Day has been our mission for a number of years now, and is actually a driver to how we made decisions throughout this process. So we're very proud with where we have come to date, but we're just as excited about what we think are the last few structural changes that can really elevate the learning program for the remainder of this year or however long this period extends. One of the first parts of that was really understanding how assessment could play a role in the fourth 9 weeks given the circumstances. The second is really promoting a level of interaction directly between teachers and students and paraprofessionals and students through the use of a variety of tools. One tool, which is not a two-way tool, is called Screencastify. It's an opportunity for teachers' voice and face to be connected with the introduction of new content, so students are hearing, seeing, and engaged in that new learning. Another part would be the use of technology such as Google Hangout Meet, which is an opportunity for two-way video conferencing. So that is being utilized, and we're really pushing hard over the last couple of days and this week to really make sure that that's been felt within homes. One of the biggest areas of opportunity for improvement based upon how families and kids are feeling is feeling connected to teacher and connected to each other. And so the use of these tools in order for students to feel connected to teacher and connected to each other is critical. And that has been supported by a pretty significant professional development effort over the last couple of weeks, with opportunities for staff to engage either synchronously or asynchronously in that learning, and then to be able to apply that learning. So again, we're proud of where we've come, but we also believe that the structural improvements that we're putting in place last week and this week will let us really jump and elevate what's happening in homes for families as we head into the next stretch. So again, that's the continuity of learning plan. I will add just a brief comment around students with disabilities, IEPs, 504s, GIEPs. You know, we took the stance initially that providing our best effort to meet individual needs is where we needed to be. After weeks of dialogue at the agency or legislative level, that's exactly where things landed. We need to do our best. We're communicating directly with families of students that have an IEP. We're making sure they're aware of the programs that are being implemented. Services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech language, they're happening. We're having, again, MTSS meetings, which the board had a chance to see during one of our school visitations. Those are happening. Pupil personnel team meetings are happening. So really in a different way. All of the guts and elements of our program are being implemented in a different way, and we're proud of that. So again, this is a sort of a regulatory component here. We'll submit this, but in terms of the bigger question, which is how are we doing with the delivery of the program, the results have been very positive, and we believe that they will take a jump as the two-way communication technology is implemented. And now that some of the anxiety related to grading and assessment and points and GPA and transcripts is addressed through a podcast and decision model. We'll take any questions.
Feel free to use the raise hand button if anyone likes. I'll share a comment. I want to thank you for moving so quickly on expanding the use of the Google Suite in the K-3 space. Dr. Justice, Mr. Stovener, and I'm sure many more people that I can't name. That was the sort of quick-footed response we've seen, we expect, we applaud, and we encourage. So please keep that up. That's great to see. And then an exhortation to do more, and Dr. Miller, you identified it already, is trying to build connections and through technology. I think that's important. I think in conversations within the district, that is something that comes up, why and how we can use more, even if it is asynchronous, more video type classrooms to try to build. It does seem to form that connection. Some students who may have been already fairly well connected are collaborating in small groups. I think having some type of video sharing, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous, would encourage that collaboration again, and all age appropriate. I know it spans quite a lot as we would move from the lower elementaries through the high school. But I think there is a real opportunity to improve and do more there. I know you've been breaking down barriers and implementing new ideas with a rapidity probably unseen around here or in some of your careers. So keep up the good work is all I can say there.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question or comment they'd like to share? Okay, we do have some action items for voting this evening. These are a little more meaty than minutes. So Barb, I will ask that we do a roll call vote just for clarity, if we could. Actually, I'll do a roll call on the first. I think we're okay on the policies 02 and 03. Item 3.01 is a motion to approve the advertisement of the proposed final general fund budget for 2020 to 2021 school year with total expenditures of $93,384,421 and total revenues of $92,698,944 with the utilization of assigned fund balance in the amount of $685,477. Do I have a second?
Second.
With a second, and given that we did not have time to get into the proposed final budget in detail during the Finance Committee meeting, I thought I might turn this over to Dana to give us her update here.
Okay, sure. Just so everyone's aware, Mr. Stovener is sharing the screen, so he has brought up just a brief presentation that I kind of put together. It's more or less just a summary of the budget at this point. As we've discussed in the past, approving this budget this evening is in accordance with the PDE guidelines, and it will provide us the opportunity to post this publicly. We will have more than enough time for public display of the budget. I believe that we, at a minimum, are required to have 20 days of public display prior to the vote. Our vote is scheduled for the beginning of June, so again, we have plenty of time. overall, and again, I won't necessarily go through each slide, but just in terms of the overall budgeting process, we had passed the resolution back in December, which indicated that we would not recommend any tax increase over our base index, which is 2.6%. This proposed final budget does not include a tax increase at this time. On the next slide, you'll be able to see kind of the summary of where we're at this point. We're at about $92.6 million of revenue and 93.3 of expenditures. Our current deficit is about 685,000. So currently our capital funding plan exceeds $3 million. So our recommendation at this point is to reflect this deficit as a utilization of assigned fund balance for capital improvements. In the entire budget packet, which is attached separately as a PDF, we have included all of the assigned fund balance in there as well. So you'd be able to see that we have plenty to cover this at this point in time. That being said, though, we will continue to go through each of the revenue account codes. We are expected to receive an updated assessed valuation listing from the county in the next few weeks. My hope is that they will still be able to present those assessed values to us during that proper time frame. We will also continue to go through all of our expenditures by department and by building to be able to go through and make sure that if there are any reductions of expenditures that we can do that at this point in time as well. So again, really this presentation, you can feel free to go through. If you happen to have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Trying to see if there's anything else that we should highlight in here. Overall, I can say that our, again, our capital funding plan is around 3.9 million, I believe, and we are recommending to transfer less than the full 3.9. Part of that is because we were granted $250,000 as a grant toward the Field 6 project, and our bids that came in about $200,000 less. So our recommendation at this point is to still continue to go through that capital project listing. Jeff and Clayton are both going through each project to make sure that they're able to actually accomplish all of those and that we can plan for those accordingly. That will still be an area of review between now and June. So if anyone has any questions, again, you can feel free to ask me now. You can always email me later. Whenever everything is kind of back open again, we will have a copy of the budget at the Northern Tier Library. It will also be on our website and attached to board docs as well.
Thank you, Ms. Seifert. Are there any questions or comments? I see none, so we can move to a vote. Can we do a roll call vote, Ms. Williams?
Yes. Mr. Moy,
Yes.
Dr. Mihalik,
Yes.
Mrs. Swope,
Yes.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. Kashani,
Yes.
Mr. DiTullio,
Yes.
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Mizbach,
Yes.
Dr. Meyer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. Item 3.2 is a motion to approve the third and final reading of policy 330 related to overtime.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing how there is none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Item 3.03 is a motion to approve the second reading of policies 705, 709, and 713 as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. We'll move on to the finance section. Mr. Kashani.
Thank you, Peter. So item 4.01 is just an information item that at our regular meeting in April, in a couple weeks, we'll be asking to approve financial reports and accounts payable. Item 4.02 is in that same meeting. We'll also be asking for approval of some budget transfers. Item 4.03, and in the Finance Committee prior to this meeting tonight, we talked about a couple of series refundings, 2010 and 2015A, that would make sense for us to do, and at the regular meeting in April, we'll vote to adopt a resolution doing that, which would then be the catalyst for preparing for the settlement of those refundings, which would be early June. And that is item 4.03. And then item 4.04 is that that Finance Committee meeting actually occupied the entire time was spent on talking about the refundings. And this is a very unique time at the moment where there's just some very unpredictable and irrational types of behaviors at the moment, which we have to contend with. But nonetheless, these refundings, though, that we're discussing still would benefit the district substantially and significantly in reduction of our outstanding debt. So we'll look forward to another update. I think we talked about an update every couple of weeks, and Dr. Miller's within his updates, he'll get them from Tony from PNC, and we'll see how the market's changing every couple of weeks as we're waiting, closing and settlement of these refundings. So that is finance.
Thank you, Mark.
My
Academic
pleasure.
achievement, Dr. Meyer.
This is just a reminder of the Academic Achievement Committee Academic Committee meeting, which will be held May 4th, 2020 at 6 p.m. It's the in-depth program reviews for music, English, arts, and library will be presented. There is no regular school board meeting following. And that is it.
Thank you, Carla.
Mhm.
Buildings and grounds, Mr. DiTullio.
Yes, item 6.01 at the April 20th meeting will be a motion to approve replacement ovens at both Richland Elementary and Eden Hall. And item 6.02 will also be a motion at the regular meeting on April 20th to advertise bids for trash and recycling hauling services. I assume no discussion.
Thank you, Greg. Dr. Campbell, Student Services.
Yes, items. 1.01 it will be is an information item. Will be a vote regular meeting. That's for board consideration of the most approved the Pine-Richland School Discipline Code 2020 school year as attached. And the second item, other information item 7.2 is the AIE notice of. And I have a motion to approve AIE policies, procedures, and use funds for 2021 as attached. And that's all.
Thank you, Ben. Staff Services, Dr. Mihalik.
So the first item, information item 8.01, is a motion to approve personnel at the regular meeting. 8.02, an information item for the meeting, the next meeting in April, to approve a 403B plan. Then 8.03 is information item about workforce update. The board will discuss compensation plans after April 10th for custodial and maintenance workforce. I don't know if there's any more detail on that. (8.04) is administrative regulations review proceeding. I don't know if the administration has any more comments.
Sure. This is Brian. So let me mention 803 for a second, workforce update. Act 13 was passed by the legislature in Pennsylvania, and that addresses the requirement for school districts to continue to compensate all personnel that were basically working at the time of the school closure beginning around March 13th. And so in terms of compensation, that's really addressed through Act 13 now, which is relatively hot off the press. Due to some safety and security components, we'll discuss a bit more of this information in executive session following the meeting. For 8.04, there's a lot of information here. This is a significant amount of time and energy. We called them ARA-Palooza and then ARA-Palooza 2.0 in order to work through all of the board policies in the entire book. So we have about 250 board policies, and the senior leadership team, plus other members such as Mr. Zimmerman or perhaps Mr. Simmons, depending on the particular policy. We looked at every policy. We looked at any recommendations by PSBA. We determined whether we had an existing administrative regulation or not, or whether we needed one, whether the one we had needed to be retained. We went through a little bit of a decision tree, but at the end of the day, the purpose of administrative regulations in most cases is to provide clarity to the policy so that on the ground and day to day, policies can be implemented in ways that work for the operation of the schools. I mean, that's the simple version. And they're especially important. Some policies stand on their own. They require no AR. And in fact, some policies more recently are so detailed in their construction that they actually include, almost have embedded within them, the regulation for administration. In other cases, policies are a little bit more concise. They stand the test of time. And so the AR becomes the location where the detail step by step or whatever needs to happen. So an awful lot of work over the course of the year to work through all of the policies. And where it was felt that policies were, or ARs were added value, we reviewed, updated, or created those. In many cases, the best way to implement and ensure implementation is by embedding the policy language into actual documents. So for example, upon hire, a staff handbook is shared with employees. So embedding policy-based language into a staff handbook becomes a critical place to be able to do that, or to connect those policies in a new hire orientation meeting. Or every year in the beginning of the year, we do required trainings for our staff. And in those trainings, we make sure that particular policies are addressed. And every staff member has the ability to do that and sign off on the fact that they've been reacquainted with those policies in their performance. For several years now, we've had an annual code of ethics sign off, which again is another opportunity to reinforce certain key policies and areas. When it comes to students, we have handbooks, we have discipline codes. Again, there's all sorts of things connected to how do we implement the policies of the district, but in some cases they are ARs, administrative regs. And so again, that's where we are today. Information only, they don't require board action.
Any further questions about the AR update? Okay, thanks. 8.05 is a reminder of a Staff Services Committee meeting scheduled for April 20th at 6 p.m. A hiring update will be provided. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Operational Services, Mr. Moy.
Sure. Item 9.01, this is information, as all of these are. It's going to be a motion to approve a food service management arrangement with Sodexo with a guaranteed financial return of $178,470 for the fiscal school year of 2020-21 as attached. Next one, 9.02. That's going to be a motion to approve a backup 1G internet circuit with Armstrong Solutions for a cost of $500 and a recurring cost of $675. As we saw from having our fiber cut, that's probably a good idea. And 9.03, this is a motion to approve the purchase of end user devices for a total cost of $433,656 from Dell as attached. Mr. Stovner, anything you want to add on that one?
No, this was in process for several weeks, and we thought it would make sense, given all that's going on, to get the approval of that done so that the ball can start rolling on the Dell side of things.
Cool. And then 9.04 is a Triennial Assessment. Federal regulations require all local education agencies participating in the National School Lunch Program to complete an assessment of the school board or school wellness policy at least every 3 years and make the results available to the public. And that's it, I think. Mr. Lyons?
Thank you, Matt. Sean, I like the proactive part, and keep that up. Keep thinking out ahead. Item 10.01 is just a reminder of the board and senior leadership team workshop scheduled for June 22nd. We still have a hold on that date. Hopefully conditions will allow us to have that meeting in person. Item 11.01, any reports from the superintendent or administration?
No.
From fellow board members?
No. Mm-mm.
Peter, I just wanted to add something. The staff has been doing an amazing job teaching everyone how to adapt to online learning. I've had the opportunity to sit in on some of the trainings and assist with them, and to have so many staff members who have never done online teaching before so quickly adapt and move to it is just really impressive. And they're jumping into it. They're being flexible. They're making accommodations for the students and for the tools they have to work with. And it's just really amazing to see how our teachers and staff and everyone have really just taken this challenge full force and are adapting so well under the circumstances. And I just want to applaud everyone for their hard work, and for the administration for providing the training tools, and for the technology leaders that we have within the staff that are doing an amazing job, getting their peers up to speed with everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Finally, we'll move to our second recognition of visitors. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to comment? And no one still physically present, Ms. Williams?
That is correct.
Very well then. Seeing how there is none, we'll move to adjourn to an executive session where we will meet to discuss contract negotiations, personnel, and real estate matters. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thanks.
Thank you, Peter.
Board members, be aware that there is a second dial-in for the executive session, and we will see you there.
Okay.